Hi, thanks for joining me today. We are connecting our mindfulness today with making decisions. You probably earlier this week talked about why it's important to think through the decisions that you make. We make a lot of decisions every day. I mean, something as mundane as what am I going to have for breakfast, but then you might be posed with a choice later on in the day about, am I going to say something unkind to someone, or am I going to, succumb to somebody asking me to do something maybe I'm not comfortable with. So these are the decisions that we're faced with every day. And again, some of them may have no impact on our life and some of them may have a lot of impact. But mindfulness can be really helpful with this because it allows for us to have a pause between, stimulus and how we respond. In fact, you can think of mindfulness as changing your reaction to a response. Let's say somebody comes up to you and accidentally knocks into you in the hallway, or if you're driving, somebody cuts you off. You have a choice in that moment. Even though it might seem like you don't have any time between the stimulus and what you can do about it, you do have a choice. Mindfulness can teach you and allow you to put a pause between something that happens and how you're going to respond to it. If someone knocks into you in the hallway and maybe you're not using your mindfulness and so you just do knee-jerk reaction, you might, lash out or yell at them and say, hey, watch where you're going. Like, you better, leave me alone. Like, you whatever, call names, et cetera, et cetera. And then it can escalate. That person might decide, you know what, it was just an accident, but since they're calling me stuff, we're going to take this to the next level. I'm going to engage back with them. And now you've got a problem. Versus if somebody runs into you by accident and you take a breath, now you can make an informed decision and go, okay, that was really annoying, but it looks like it was an accident. And then after taking a breath, maybe that person goes, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to run into you. And now the situation is diffused. Instead of you reacting, you waited and then responded. And instead of responding, you saw the other person. It was an apology. It still doesn't, feel good to get shoved by accident, but now you're not starting something unnecessarily. Or maybe they shove into you and they just walk on and, they don't apologize. They're like, oh, whatever. But now you can go, okay, I'm going to choose to ignore that. Or, hey, sorry, excuse me. Or, hey, watch out. Like, instead of you making it something big and trying to instigate, you can just acknowledge that a boundary was crossed without being rude, or just choose not to do anything about it. That's okay as well. All that to say, mindfulness puts a pause between stuff. You could also have something very triggering happen. So let's say you have a phobia of some type or some sort of fear, and something causes you to feel very anxious. Example, your phone rings and you see a name on the phone, somebody's calling you that maybe you haven't heard from them in a while. Maybe things aren't so great with that person. Maybe you have a history with them, it's not very positive. And so you see that and you're like, and instead of going, oh no, meltdown, panic, freak out, you take a breath. And then you choose how you respond. And you go, you know what? I'm not in a great place to answer that right now, so I'm going to let it go to voicemail and then I'll deal with it later. Or I need to talk to this person, but now I've taken a breath and I feel more ready to have that conversation. Instead of just reacting or maybe answering it before you think, I'm not really ready to have a conversation with this person. We haven't talked in forever. I'm feeling really stressed out. But instead you went ahead and answered it because you were like, I don't know what to do. Hello. Mindfulness allows for us to put a pause between the stimulus, and how we're going to respond so that we don't react, we respond. We can make a calculated, informed, and mature decision. One thing we can do is we can use our breath to help calm our bodies down if we need to make an informed decision. So I'm going to teach you a breath that we can do together. It's called the 7-11 breath. The reason why this is great is that we're going to breathe in for a count of 7 and then breathe out for a count of 11. Why this is awesome is because when you start to make your exhales longer than your inhales, you're sending a message to your brain, to your nervous system specifically, that everything's going to be all right, that you're safe. When we start to breathe in a lot, it's like we're gasping. It's like we're taking in a lot of oxygen, and that's on purpose. Our bodies, when we feel threatened, take in a bunch of oxygen so that we can be ready to fight or run away. But that's not all the time the best thing we need to do. So instead of getting ourselves revved up, if we start to control our breath and slow our breath down, then we send a message to our body that everything's fine, I'm okay, let's approach this calmly. Doesn't make the situation go away, but it can help you respond instead of react, and then you're making a more informed and mature decision. So let's do that together. Go ahead and put on your mindful body, which means you're sitting up straight. You're giving your lungs plenty of room to breathe. And we're going to breathe in together. So you're going to breathe in through your nose, breathing in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Hold. And breathing out for 11. Breathing out through your mouth. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Now, how many of you ran out of breath, right? So happens a lot. Try to imagine like you're breathing through a straw. It's okay if you make a little noise. It's all right. Whatever you need to do to put a little bit of resistance so that you don't let all your air out. You're like, I've run out of air. Slow it down. Pace yourself. It's very hard to do, but it takes practice and you will get better at it. So let's try that again together. Breathing in through our nose. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Hold. And breathing out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right, I think my internet just cut out. So I'm not exactly sure where we left off, but technology, am I right? I'm going to make a choice to respond rather than react. So let's breathe together one more time. Breathing in for a count of 7. In. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Perfect. This is something that you can do anytime that you need to calm down. It is a strategy that has been proven to work. When we extend our exhales, we then communicate back to our brains that everything's fine. Your brain and your body are connected and they talk to each other. And it's not just a one-way street. It's not all brain to body, brain to body. You can use your body to talk back to your brain and say, I'm going to breathe slow and you need to calm down. And that's exactly what we're doing. So I want you to go ahead and find a spot where you can stand up, because we're going to do some basic stretches, which will help us to move our bodies in case we need to make a tough decision. So meet me standing up. All right, so you guys know I love yoga, so we're going to use a little bit, tiny bit of yoga that I can give you for whenever you're feeling like you need to make a tough decision. Sometimes you've got to move your body to help think through things. We've got to, it's like why you walk around sometimes when you're talking on the phone or you're having a conversation. We need to move. It feels good to move and think. So this is some stuff you can do. If you ever need to just stand up, take a break, this is some stuff you can do to help you think through some issues and give yourself some focus. So I want you to go ahead and stand up, and we're going to be in our mountain pose. So I'm going to stand back here. When you're doing mountain pose, your hips are directly in line with your feet. So let's put our feet hip width apart. Your shoulders are in line with your hips, which are in line with your feet. So you've got this stacking going on. Hands are down by your side. Shoulders are back and down, broadening the shoulder. Your head is directly in line with your neck and your spine, and your head is back. We're not slumping over. It could feel a little uncomfortable, but this is actually really good for our bodies. So we're going to start in mountain. Sweep your hands up, straight up above you. This is upward mountain. Hold this for a moment. Imagine you're maybe putting a little bend in your back. Notice we're bending a little bit this way if you can. And then bring it over to the side. Excellent. Find length in your side that's stretching. Watch your breathing. Don't hold your breath. Keep those breaths nice and steady. And slowly bring it back. And with yoga, we always balance out. Same thing, other side. And bring it on back. Float the hands on down. The next thing we're going to do is tree pose. If we're needing to focus, if we need to make a tough decision, balancing and focusing poses might help us to cultivate that in our brain. So with tree pose, you have 3 options. You can put your heel against your ankle, your heel against your calf, or your heel against your hip or your thigh. Sorry. I was thinking hip because you don't want your hip to be jutting out. You want it to be nice and straight. Also, be sure you never put your foot against your knee. That's a great way to hurt your knee. So let's not do that. Find the level that works for you. Here's a fun fact. There is no level that's better than another. It's all okay. It's just whatever your body can do, and we celebrate that. So if you're down here, fantastic. If you need to be next to a wall to ensure you're not going to topple over, that's okay. You might notice that some days you have more balance than others. That's all right. So find the one that works for you. Hands can be at your heart, or since it's tree pose, you can have some branches sticking out. Whatever works for you, but let's meet in tree pose. Here's a hint. Find a spot across the room that you can stare at that will help you maintain balance, okay? So let's find this pose together and stay here for just a moment. Nice deep breaths. Excellent. Come on out of the pose. Shake that leg out. That leg just did a lot of hard work. Perfect. Same thing, other side. Let's find some strength and some grounding in that leg. You can do heel against ankle, heel against calf, or foot against. You can do heel against ankle, foot against calf, or foot against your thigh, okay? And again, you might have more balance on one side than another. So you might find this side is a little trickier or easier. Either one is fine. Hands at heart center or up like branches, whichever works for you. Make sure that hip's not jutting out. Awesome. Find some length. Keep that nice posture. Staring at a point across the room. And slowly coming out of the posture, shaking that leg. Great job. Awesome. You can go ahead and meet me back in a seated position. So in the spirit of making decisions, I figured we would do a really fun meditation journey where you're going to be making some decisions using your imagination. It's a very different type of meditation than what we normally do, and it is really fun. I enjoy this one. It's a popular one that we do at the clubhouse. So go ahead and find a seated position. You can sit cross-legged. That works. If you are an experienced meditator, you can lay down, but if you're at risk for falling asleep, like I know most of us are, then I recommend a seated position. I also invite you to close your eyes. If you are uncomfortable closing your eyes, that's 100% okay. Then in that case, I would just have you gaze downwards towards the floor so that you aren't distracted by the things that are happening around you. And what I'm going to have you do is I want you to imagine that the room that you're sitting in is kind of fading away, like a blurry movie transition. And you're noticing now, as you're looking around inside of your imagination, that you are inside of a cave. This is a safe cave. You're not in any danger. However, we're going to need to find our way out. So let's have a look around. First, you're noticing stalagmites and stalactites. Maybe you're hearing the dripping of water in the distance. You may even hear the sound of rushing of an underground river nearby. Reaching out, you feel the walls and they're cool to the touch, maybe even a little bit damp. You notice that the ground is firm beneath you. You look in and notice that the room you're in is quite large. It's a large cavern underground, and they are in no danger of anything happening. It's a very strong and sturdy cave, but we're going to need to find our way out. And this is where your job is going to come in. You are going to have to find your way out of this cave. Go ahead and start to look around. There may be clues, a path, a trail, something that will indicate how you're going to find your way out of this cave. Perhaps you have a flashlight or a lantern or a torch, and you can shine that light around and see what escape there might be. Perhaps you have tools. Perhaps there is a sliver of sunlight coming through a crack somewhere. Feel free to walk around and explore. If you haven't found your way out yet, look very hard. Look down towards your feet. Notice if there's any kind of indication there of which way you should go. Look around corners, on the walls. See if perhaps there is some sort of stairway or tool that you can use. Pursue the trail, pursue the path. Don't be afraid to look harder. If you've found your exit, go ahead and leave your cave. There is something amazing awaiting you on the other side. Step into that and take it in. If you haven't found your way out yet, there is an exit. You may just have to get very creative about how you're able to leave the cave. It may be super unusual, super unconventional. Keep looking, it will come to you. And if you found your way out, what was it that was waiting for you on the other side? Enjoy it. Experience it. We're now going to transition out of this imaginary space. And by doing that, I want you to start to notice the feeling of your clothes on your skin. Perhaps the furniture or the floor that you're sitting on, the sensation of being held. Notice now the sound of my voice as I guide you back into reality, into the room that you're in. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes and bring your attention back to the screen. I want to encourage you, if you were unable to find your way out of the cave, you may feel free to go back there and keep looking. There is an exit. You may just have to look very hard for it, but there is a way out. If you were able to find your way out of the cave, think about what was waiting for you on the other side. Hopefully something very good and very inspiring. I think this meditation is really fun. It can also be very revealing about where we are in our current situation. And hopefully you feel strong and empowered for finding your way out of the cave, because you are capable and we are able to make decisions that lead to our own self-empowerment. Thank you for meditating with me. I hope that meditation was helpful. I want to share one more thing before we leave. I'm going to share my screen. Just one more piece about our brains. So if you'll notice here, this light is kind of like your true self, who you are inside. Just the part of you that is you, the thing that makes you you. And when we shine that out, it is bright, right? We shine out and it is brilliant. And some people can't handle our shine, and that's their problem. But this, imagine, is you. Now, if we go down here, we see that the lights, there's actually many little light bulbs, and they're covered by a black shade. This black shade is like when we start to get into negative thought patterns, when we start to fall into negative thought traps. Thought is going to happen no matter what. I'm not telling you not to think. Thinking is fine. But when we start to buy into thoughts that are not entirely true, we start to think, I'm stupid, I don't have any friends, nobody cares about me, I'm ugly. Then we start to put a black shade on top of that true self. Now our brilliance, our light is not able to shine out. It's covered. So I urge you to think about your thinking. I know that sounds really out there, but notice your thoughts. Meditation is actually really great for that. Not a journey meditation, but one where you sit and just kind of notice the thoughts that pop up. You'll notice what thoughts are shutting down your light, that are communicating negative things to you. Just by noticing them, then you can start to undo them. That's the first step to bringing back this brilliance. The other thing I want to show you, another analogy, is this glitter jar. So imagine this glitter jar is like our mind, and every little speck of glitter is like all the thoughts that we have. We have a ton of thoughts every day. I mean, we're thinking things right now as I'm talking. You may even be thinking about what you're going to have to eat later, and that's okay. But when we start to get really worked up, when we get carried away with our thoughts, when we get anxious, nervous, we get angry, when we get jealous, all those thoughts start to swirl around in our head. And now we can't think clearly. We can't make clear decisions because we have so much stuff kind of, knocking around inside our mind. Let me tell you how to settle this glitter. Like when you shake a snow globe and then you watch it start to like slowly fall down to the bottom. We do this by using mindfulness. First thing you can do is use that 7-11 breathing that I taught you. Now you watch your glitter settle. Notice when the glitter settles, it doesn't make the glitter go away. You're still going to have thoughts, but now they're all kind of collected in one space instead of swirling around everywhere, and you can see better into your mind because you took moments to breathe and to calm down. I hope that that is useful to you, that analogy, not only of your light in the lampshade, but also of the glitter and allowing it to calm down as you breathe and use mindfulness. Thank you for meditating. Thank you for doing mindfulness with me today. I appreciate showing up, and I appreciate you showing up for yourself. I hope you have a great rest of your day.